Hello there, friends. This is Sgt Sarah with To Illuminate Ministries. Welcome back. This is our God's Girls devotional time that we're spending together throughout the year of 2024. So this is God's Girls devotional, and it's a study of 31 women in 31 days is what it was written for, but we're not going to do it in 31 days. We're taking our time and enjoying it. Last month was January the 1st of 2024. This is February 2024. And so I hope you've been enjoying it. I hope you've gotten your copy on Amazon. It's available. So this time we are going to be on page 32, and we are going to be looking at Clara Barton. Do you know who she is? So let's read a little bit here and then we'll talk some. She was the founder of the American Red Cross. While taking care of her brother David during a long-suffering illness, Clara found a new love for nursing. When visiting Europe, she worked with the International Red Cross, and upon her return to America, she lobbied for an American version of the same. The American Red Cross was founded in 1881, with Clara Barton becoming the first president. So I want to talk, this little devotion is about the small things, the mundane things. You know, there's a saying that I've heard about motherhood, most of us women, most of us God's girls, we are mothers, that motherhood is the longest days of your life, but it's the shortest years of your life. And man, that's powerful, right? You do a million and one little bitty mundane things every day that goes unseen and unnoticed, usually by your spouse and your children. They don't see it. They don't know it. It doesn't register because mom is there. Mom's taking care of the laundries and the groceries and the cooking and the cleaning and getting the kids ready for church and reading their Bible at night, maybe praying over them. All the little things that we do that sometimes go unknown. And even if you're young in faith or you're a young person and you think that when you do something for God, it's little and it's small and it's not significant. Zechariah 4:10, that's in the Old Testament. I know that's a place we don't go often or hear. Zechariah 4:10 says, "Do not despise these small beginnings," right? It's a beginning. You got to start somewhere. You got to start with something. Sometimes the ordinary and the mundane are what God is using to propel us into our calling. So don't despise the day of small or humble beginnings. As a mom, those small things that you're doing are preparing and propelling your child, your son or your daughter, to become a successful man or woman when they grow up. The small things that you began doing for God on the clean team, cleaning the church, going to prayer, working in the nursery, working as an usher. It may seem like a small thing, but it's a step, it's a beginning into a call of something that God is calling you to. So I want to remind you of the story of Elijah and the Shunamite woman in the Bible. I want to read the account to you. It's found in 2 Kings chapter 4, and we're going to look at verses 31 through 37, and I'm going to read them here to you, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. So it says, "When Elisha came into the house, he saw the child lying dead on his bed. So he went in and shut the door behind the two of them, and he prayed to the Lord. Then he went up and lay on the child, putting his mouth on his mouth, his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands. And as he stretched himself upon him, the flesh of the child became warm. Then he got up again and walked once back and forth in the house, and went up and stretched himself upon him. The child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. Then he summoned Gehazi, and he said, 'Call this Shunamite.' So he called her, and when she came to him, he said, 'Pick up your son.' She came and fell at his feet, bowing to the ground. Then she picked up her son and went out. So the lady's son had died. That's obvious if you don't know the story. But she was a woman who housed Elijah in her house. She actually built a room on her house for the prophet, the man of God, to stay in when he came to her area. Maybe a big thing for a lot of us to add on a room to your house and wait and serve and take care. But it was a beginning, right? It was a beginning for her because there was something that she needed and wanted. It was a fairly ordinary action for a woman to take care of a man in those times, to cook and clean for him, to serve him. But this mundane, small beginning created two miracles in this lady, the Shunamite's life. Not one, but two miracles from serving the man of God, something that pretty much anyone could know how to do. Boil water, make some rice, make some bread, cook some meat, wash his sheets, wash his clothes, bring him some water, bring him some coffee, right? Those are simple everyday tasks that we do. If we have food and we want to eat, we prepare it, right? It's a simple task. She was without a child. So because of that action, the first miracle was that God gave her a son. Well, then the son, he grew and he became sick and he died. And that's where we picked up the account reading in 2 Kings 4, where Elijah came and he's like, no. He laid and breathed and prayed, and God brought her miracle child, her first miracle, back to life because she hadn't stopped serving. She hadn't stopped doing that action in service for the Lord. She stayed humble. Remember when we read the first verse, it said, humble or small beginnings, not to despise them. She didn't get that first miracle and say, oh, okay, and view God and the man of God as like a jackpot. I wanted a son, I wanted a child, so I served you and I got that, so now I'm done. She didn't stop. She continued to serve him and keep her house and that room open and ready for him anytime he came. She was still there, faithful, humble. So then when she was in dire needs because this son of hers had died, the prophet was there and she had access and he was available to her and he stood in the gap with her, and she got a second miracle, you guys, from being a handmaiden of the Lord and serving him, doing what he asked her in something that most people despise, right? I don't know about you, but I hate cooking. Now I enjoy baking, but I hate cooking. That's something. I mean, I know there's some of you who are wonderful chefs and you enjoy it, and my hat off to you. But, most of us, it's something that we do because it's a requirement. If we want to stay alive, we have to cook food and eat, especially for our kids and our family. She was humble, and God took that and used that and gave her two miraculous miracles in her life. I'm telling you, ladies, that is powerful. That is powerful. We don't need to be like the Israelites who grumbled and complained and ended up in the desert for 40 years because they despised what God had done and was doing in them, right? Yeah, they had fear. There was giants in the land, but they said, let us just turn around and go back to captivity, go back to where we are, where we came from, to Egypt. No, they ended up in the desert for 40 years, not doing anything, stuck because they griped and they grumbled. Mundane things matter to God. He looks at your heart. The little bitty things can qualify you just as if you were someone standing behind a pulpit preaching to 100,000 people that got saved, right? It's not our actions, it's our heart. It's our heart. Remember the woman who had the one little bitty talent that she sowed as an offering. And Jesus told the people at the church, she's given more than all of you. So by giving into your family, giving into the kingdom of God, building that man and that woman that is growing up in your house to become another member of the kingdom of God, who knows what the call on their life is for your child? They could be a Billy Graham or an Oral Roberts or a Kenneth Hagin. You don't know. It's not mundane. Don't despise it. Thank God that He uses us and the actions in our everyday lives to bring miracles and to touch Him in the world. Thanks for joining me. This has been Sgt Sarah for our God's Girls devotional. We'll see you next time.